I was reading this and I thought to myself, well, I should gift it to my girlfriends.
It's been pretty amazing to watch kids like get so interested in this.
I love their... Are we too late, Liz, to learn about this?
No, we're still very early. So my daughter has Cash App. She's 17 years old. She came to me and asked about Bitcoin and wanted to know if it's something that she should start purchasing, maybe, setting aside and investing in, because Cash App had given her the option. It didn't have that option a year ago. And you see all of these big companies introducing these options. And so now is the time to really verse yourself on what's going on.
Welcome back to another episode of Girl at the Verse, the video podcast, the place to be if you are new to Web3, curious about crypto, but you don't want to get too technical. I'm your girl, Melina, content creator, hype woman, asking all the questions so we can together better understand this new technology and how the blockchain will change our lives. Don't take my word for it. Just watch every entire episode of the Girl in the Verse video podcast. All my guests are, bullish on Web3. This is impacting and changing their lives and the lives of their kids. So don't take my word for it, but listen to this podcast, of course. And as we get started, I do have a small favor to ask. Our latest episode captivated over 100 eager viewers like you, but we are missing something very crucial, and that is you subscribing to this podcast, because this not only helps the YouTube algorithm know that you love this type of content, but it helps me, the content creator, know that you love this so I can keep going. And as we say, the more views, the more comments, the more likes, the better the guests, the better the show, the better the quality, the better everything. So please take a moment to like, subscribe, and put down a comment down below so my guests and I can, perhaps answer it in a future episode. Today, I am joined by Elizabeth Sullivan. She is an author, speaker, and volunteer with a passion for helping others pursue their dreams, with a particular interest in blockchain and NFT technologies. She has taken on the remarkable, and I will say it is remarkable, this role to, help young ones, right? Our children understand the blockchain technology through her books. She is a writer dedicated to simplifying complex concepts like blockchain technology for our young readers. Her published works, I have them here: The Three Little PFPs and the Blockchain Odyssey. Okay, let's take a moment for these two books. Have been well received and are now available to inspire curious minds. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me on. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
I'm so glad. So, to help us get started, how did you get into blockchain? Because you are a writer, right? Activist. How did you stumble upon blockchain or crypto or Web3 or however you want to call it?
Basically, I've been online, like in the online world a lot, being an entrepreneur through the last 10 plus years. And so eventually terms start coming up pretty consistently. And then I also follow Gary Vaynerchuk, as well as you do too, I think. And he started talking about this technology that really caught my attention. And I felt like it was super early, and I love to learn things early. And so I just got right in. He actually suggested a project called Brain Vomits Garden. And so that was the very first NFT community that I would say I immersed myself into. And that was where I started a Twitter account at. I got into the Discord. We started doing Twitter Spaces, and the community just, it stole my heart. It brought things to life. And so ever since then, I've been deep into crypto. I've been deep into NFTs. I really have learned a lot about blockchain technology and what's going on behind the scenes. And that really intrigues me. So that's how I got started learning about blockchain.
I love that because, I say this all the time, but my girlfriends don't care. And And it's hard to get like my family and friends to care about blockchain technology or this technology, right? Everyone automatically assumes, oh, crypto NFTs, it's a scam. No, don't get into this stuff. How do you break free from all that noise? How did you, like, what was it for you that you were like, no, this is happening. This is here to stay. Apart from Gary V.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Apart from that, well, when you see people building on the back end, it doesn't take long for it to come to the front end. And like I said, being an entrepreneur, I know how long it takes to get things going before people even begin to see the results. And so I just kind of went with my gut and my heart. And as I've gotten older and wiser, I've learned to follow that more and more, which has actually led me to write these books. But I just went with my gut and thought, this is a space that I can really learn in, and I can figure out how it works. I can help explain it to grandma, just like how we had to go from, checks to debit cards to now things are on our phones. Like there is a learning gap in there. So I can help explain it to grandma if I know what I'm talking about. And then it transformed to helping kids understand the basics, because it can be complicated. Like it's almost like a deep, dark pit. You can go anywhere in the blockchain industry and just find yourself immersed in really complicated situations. But in order to onboard the public, it's going to take relaying those terms in terms that we can all understand. And the best way to do that I could think of was books.
I love that, Elizabeth, because, growing up, we would, want a lot of things on our birthdays, right? Like I wanted gifts and parties and cakes and whatnot. But as I got older, I realized that the best gift my parents could ever give me was education, right? Was allowing myself to get immersed in books, in education and learning. And I think that is the best gift ever. So when we talk about the blockchain and we talk about onboarding the masses, I cannot think of a better way to help our young ones understand what is truly going to change our lives. So talk to us about these books, how you came about creating them, and the why. Like, why kids? I mean, I could think of a few reasons, but why kids?
To be honest, the way that the very first, the book you're holding, the Three Little PFPs, came out with, it was just a moment of rhyming that happened. And I shared it on Twitter fall of last year with the community. It just came out. Then I decided to make a really big change in my life, and we moved from Iowa to Raleigh area, North Carolina. And I thought, you know what? I've always wanted to be a writer. I've always wanted to be a speaker. I still want to pursue volunteering. And so right when we got here, I just got to work. I thought, what do I have that I can put out in the world right away that aligns with who I want to be in the future? I want to have a voice in the blockchain technology space. I want to be able to talk to people about NFTs and immerse myself in that world. So what am I going to do now to put myself in that position later? So the Three Little PFPs came from a story that I shared on Twitter. I'm really proud of it because, like I said, I'm part of the Brain Vomits Garden community, and it was so fun. We have CCO rights along with our NFTs. So the three characters that you see there, I actually found an artist. It took a few tries, but I found an artist willing to make derivatives of my NFTs as the main characters for that book. And so that was really exciting to be able to put that in there. And then I put the glossary in the back because the initial goal was for the parents who already knew about NFTs to be able to read it to their children. It just makes a little bit more sense that way. Yes. So,
I will say, reading the Three Little PFPs yesterday, we're saying it's for kids, but just like I tell every content creator out there when they're doing videos, you really do have to speak to an audience as if they were 5 years old, right? Or just having like a fifth grade type of education. We really got to dumb it down, right? And it's not to say that people are dumb, right? It's just a way of regurgitating the information so that it's accessible. And I got to tell you, this book, I want my girlfriends to read it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just for kids. It's, because people ask me all the time, right? They're like, how do I get involved? How do I start into Web3? It's too technical. There's too many words. Like I can't understand what's going on Twitter. This helps you understand it.
Yeah, what better place to start with vocabulary, you know? But it's actually really funny that you say that. I got goosies when you said kind of put it to in a 5-year-old terms, because so the next book, the Blockchain Odyssey, literally came from that. So I was working on doing a blockchain basics like boot camp workshop for our local chamber of commerce. And I was playing with AI, trying to help me figure out how to explain these things to people. So I had this whole itinerary for the workshop. And then I put it in. And I said, you know what? Explain this to a 5-year-old. I kid you not, Melina. I said, explain this to a 5-year-old. And then boom, the Blockchain Odyssey concept was born. I edited it from there, but it was literally taking that concept right there of we have so much technical stuff in the back end. How do I simplify it? And now it's become the next book is in the works. And I'm actually planning on doing a book a month all the way up until next year's VCon. So I'm really proud of the Three Little PFPs. I'm really proud of the Blockchain Odyssey. The next one coming out is going to be called Jane in the Blockchain, and it talks about wallet safety. But I think that these will just get better and better as with any practice. But you were spot on with the inspiration was to put it in simple terms for a 5-year-old. And if a 5-year-old can understand it, we're good, you know, because they're going to be using the technology anyways.
That's really where I come from. You know, here at Girl in the Verse, I do want to inspire young girls, right? And you know, at the very beginning when I built this, I thought to myself, well, how can I inspire my girlfriends, you know? Because I know for a fact as women, we don't like to talk about money. Like none of us go out for cocktails and we're like, so how much money do you have in your bank account? Like we don't, right? Like do we do that? We don't do that.
I wish we did, but I can't find very many that, yeah.
It's where, you know, like if Sex in the City were to redo a show, you know, where it would be like Sex in the City with blockchain. Oh my God, I just thought of an idea.
You totally did. I love it. I would watch that.
But it's true. I mean, as women, we don't talk about money. We don't talk about saving money. We really talk about, you know, families or just surviving, you know, families, right? So it's interesting to see how, you know, even for myself, like I was saying before at Girl in the Verse, I kept thinking, well, how do I get my girlfriends involved? But then it hit me that in order to get the masses, we really do have to start with the younger ones because they're already sort of immersed. They don't really need convincing because their eyes and brains are wide open. They're like ready to learn, right? There's no friction of like, here's a new way of doing things. They're just going to get it right away. So I really think this is brilliant. Now, how did you approach simplifying these terms? Because like you said, you started with the glossary and I started when I started TikTok, I was thinking to myself, what can I do? And I started with the lingo because in crypto and blockchain, there are some words, my friends, that if you don't have the glossary, you will not understand what we're talking about.
Yes. What is wag me? What are you wagging?
Exactly.
I get asked that all the time because I actually named my company Wag Me Consulting Group, and I funneled my books through the publishing of that company. And so, very simple. What is Wag Me? And it's like, okay, this is the new LOL. You need to know what Wag Me means. And so, yeah, verbiage was the easiest start for sure. But like I said, the next one's on wallet safety, and that's we're just glossing over it in the book, but it's something to bring to light immediately. I mean, you wouldn't, you know, you have outlet safety. You teach your kids not put the fingers in the outlets. You have stranger danger. So why wouldn't we teach them on financial safety as well from the get-go? And then also, might I say, as a parent or as a reader, if you've ever read a book to a child, you end up kind of getting invested and involved yourself, and you end up learning a lot. So this is for the child that it's being read to, yes, but the reader intakes this information as well.
No, you're absolutely right. Like I said, I was reading this and I thought to myself, well, I should gift it to my girlfriends. Read about the Three Little PFPs. How are you seeing the role of blockchain and NFT technologies evolving in the future, right? So you said you were new to this, but also there is no age to get started, right? Are we too late, Liz, to learn about this? Is it too late?
No, we're still very early to learn about all things going on chain. And that's actually where I see it is I see all things going on chain. I mean, everything nowadays you can find on the internet. There's a version, there's a link, there's a code behind the scenes that makes things tick. And that's just the same with blockchain. I have to share this with you. I had the joy yesterday so my daughter has Cash App. She's 17 years old. She needed
Well,
permission to do this, but she came to me and asked about Bitcoin and wanted to know if it's something that she should start purchasing, maybe, setting aside and investing in because Cash App had given her the option. It didn't have that option a year ago. And you see all of these big companies introducing these options. And so now is the time to really verse yourself on what's going on. You are still early, but mass adoption is coming. So I see that this is just going to be the inevitable back end of a lot of systems that we already have.
what are the challenges or misconceptions that you've encountered even in this journey of writing these books? When it comes to crypto, Web3, what are some of the biggest misconceptions you remember, or like things that your friends tell you that you're like, you roll your eyes, like I'm rolling my eyes right?
Well, to be honest, a lot of people are really inspired that you wrote a book. NFT NYC this year was mind blowing to me because I was surrounded by the smartest people, like developers and people just doing amazing things in the back end. And then I would share my book, The Three Little PFPs, and they'd be like, "You wrote a book? Oh my gosh, I could never do that." And that is a big misconception. It's like, you are building like this huge company in the back end. You can definitely write a book. And so it was just funny to me that my superpower was something that I deemed so small, and yet everybody else was in awe by, and I'm in awe by that. So I think that debunking that is one of my biggest things. If you have a story inside you, it's not that hard to get out. You might need some help, some resources. There's Fiverr.com, that's a nice resource, but it is completely possible. And also stepping into something such as writing and speaking, it was a little scary and I fought a little bit of imposter syndrome until I did it. And then once I did it, I was it. And I'm no longer an imposter because I have written books. I have spoken to audiences. That is truly me. And so taking the first step to becoming who I wanted to be was, I guess, pretty empowering and very insightful. And I really wish that a lot of my friends, that they tell me their dreams and they tell me the things that they want to do and their hopes and their goals. And it's like, if you only knew how capable you are, like, oh, this world would just be amazing if we all just went after our talents, wouldn't it?
100%. I mean, I couldn't agree more. If I were to, go back to my 5-year-old self, I would just tell her to do what she did, to just do it again. I grew up literally, my parents will always say that I just never listened to the rules. I just didn't. I think early on, I don't know what it was about me per se. I just always felt like the imposter, and I think I just went with it. I literally rolled with the punches. And so when, even working in television and working in front of a camera for so many years, I mean, that's the number one question I get all the time, which is, how do you do it? How do you get, I never thought about it. And I think I never thought about it because I just did it. I just knew I had to do it. But I also think it's because I did that early on. Like I said before, right? I think kids just do it. They don't think, they're not scared. Like 5-year-old me would figure skate easily. Today, I'm petrified of falling and breaking a hip, right? It's just it's part of nature, right? As we grow older, we know more things, unfortunately, so we get scared. Yeah. But I love
That's
what you
absolutely
did there.
true.
I love
And
what
here
you
you are
said. Yeah.
crushing it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, thank you so much. We didn't talk about it, but in New York, you did come up to me and you were like, "Oh my God, girl in the verse, like I really want to give you my book." And I remember just glancing through it and I was like, oh my God, I need to get you on the show. So I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you. I actually posted on my story yesterday. I was like, okay, a girl that I really admire and follow on TikTok has asked me to be on her podcast. OMG. So this is kind of a surreal moment, but also like, this just testifies to what I just said. Like, if you put yourself in a position to be who you want to be, you're probably going to come out as that person. And here we are talking, and I've always wanted to be your friend. So
I love it. And we are friends. This is what's so great. And, I really, like, I want to tell every girl because the reason why I say women is because we're the hardest on ourselves. I see my boyfriend and his friends, and if things go wrong, they're like, it's okay. They clap each other on the back. They're like, you got it. Like, look at all the soccer teams and football teams and all the guys. Like, if they lose, they still, get up, chest up, proud, and they walk that field. Whereas women, yes, we want to be together, but it almost seems like we just don't do the same thing. We don't pat each other on the back. We're like, if we failed, we kind of like go away. Or like the first thing we do when we want to start a TikTok is we compare ourselves to every other girl out there, right? Like we're just wired differently. And so I just want us to start changing this narrative. And I really hope that through blockchain, as we keep saying that there aren't a lot of women here, I really hope that the women that are here really want to make that difference, really want to, lift each other up. I'm so happy to have you here and to be able to have this conversation because I think it's important. And for a long time, I used to tell myself, when I used to see women up on a stage, I used to think to myself, oh, well, that's representation. When in fact, for a lot of women, it was, oh, she's got the spot, so I can't do it. That's really what it is that women tend to believe that, oh, she filled up that gap, so I can't be that other person, which is, I'm hoping that we start changing that narrative. Whereas if we keep seeing more women up on stage, we want to empower more women to get up on stage with us.
That's exactly it. I mean, I think that there were a few panels that had to be rescued from being manels in NFT NYC. So we had to throw a woman in there on purpose. And that just testifies to that as well. It is hard as a woman to see other people crushing it and automatically think that there's not space for you. I don't know why that is ingrained in our psyche, but it's totally wrong. There totally is space for all of us. And I love the fact that hopefully I can be like you and be approachable at these events and be able to connect online and in person and nobody feel less than. I would rather make a space of inclusion.
I love that. So let's go back to these books here and what you're doing, what you're building. How important do you think it is for children to start learning about this? Because at what age would you say this is for? I don't have kids, so I don't know. Is it like 5-year-old? Is it 3-year-old? Like how young?
I would say there's two parts to that answer. One is you can read a book to any age. And so I think that particular book is best when read by an adult who does understand NFTs and the verbiage because you read it. It just rhymes better when you know how to pronounce the word. So any age that can be read to. Now, on the other side of it, if you're looking for your child to actually learn the glossary terms, I would recommend that for like 2nd to 4th graders, that would be the age there. Now, the Blockchain Odyssey, that is a little bit more complicated. We're following Scribblet on his journey through the metaverse as he discovers all of his powers and he discovers what is proof of work, what is proof of stake, what is consensus, and how to reach it. He comes across nodes on his journey, and those are going to be a little bit more complex details, but still simple. I would say that would be about 3rd grade to 5th grade level. The next one, I'm trying to reach slightly higher than that with the wallet safety. So now we're going to go about that 6th grade level. We'll see what the next 7, 10 have, but we're going to reach all different levels through these. So, but really any book that can be read to somebody, we're good there.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think it's important for young kids to understand this? Because again, I always go back to my friends who just had babies, right? And they tell me, Melina, all this tech stuff, like I don't want my kids to be on iPads and wear these goggles, right? Like they think I'm coming out some futuristic movie. But what would you tell someone today who, maybe has kids but doesn't really agree with technology or doesn't want them to be attached to a screen? What would you tell them right now?
I would say that we have piggy banks for a reason. We have wallets and purses for a reason. We teach kids about saving and investing as they get older because it's going to be important in their future. And so we teach them how to count their coins and put them in the piggy bank. We teach them about deposits when they earn their first check. All of this that you and I are talking about, the things in the book, blockchain technology in general, it is inevitably in their future. And so it would be really smart to, as a parent, our job is to raise kids in a world that they know how to handle. And so I think that it's really smart to encourage them to learn things that may not be mainstream, but are going to be beneficial. Does that make sense at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean,
There's so many ways that I can go. And my brain, like, it goes like this. There's so many ways that I can go with this, but just the pure fact of like, we teach our kids everything else. So why not teach them as something that they would use? You teach them how to conduct themselves, and it doesn't have to be online. That's why I put it in books, because you're right. A lot of parents, they don't want their kids right in front of a screen, but that doesn't mean that the technology on the back end of their bank account is going to be, is any different. So we do
true.
have to acknowledge the world that they're going to grow up in and prepare them for that. And so books, I mean, you can get it on Kindle if you'd like them in front of a screen, but books are a way to kind of find that happy medium. But kids really, really need to know what's happening and what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, look, I've interviewed so many other moms who are, making their way into NFTs and NFT projects for kids specifically. I've even seen kids buy Ethereum on their phone, right? So I think it would be foolish of us to think that the kids aren't understanding or don't get it. I mean, I see my young cousins, they're 16 years old and all they want are these gift cards to go and play video games online, right? So what is that, right? It's all part of what is coming. Actually, I see babies on iPhones already, and they look at themselves and they know that it's them, right? It's true. So I always say better to get them informed, right? Just like you said, like cybersecurity, right? You're talking about safety. Get them aware of what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you teach your kids not to lend money to friends. You teach your kids to beware of stranger danger and not click on bad links so that they don't get a virus on their phone or your computer. And so all of these are just basics in my mind, especially as they are getting into this. The wallet safety factor is going to be big. You mentioned gaming, and I have two little boys, 8 and 13, and man, they do love those cards so that they can purchase things. But it was really fun. I was talking to my best friend the other day. She also has an 8-year-old, and she was saying, so remember how 2 years ago you were telling me that like the skins and the things on the games would eventually be like NFTs or digital assets and they could be resold? She's like, my son just did that the other day. She said, what you told me 2 years ago, I was able to watch come to life. And he was able to repurpose something he had purchased and make money off of it and get something else for him. And I was like, that is it. So they're already using this. It'd be great to assign the correct terminology to them of what exactly they are doing and then teach them how to use it safely. Nobody wants to go into Fortnite and find all of their stuff gone. That would be awful. You don't want to go into your savings account and find it just disappeared because you clicked a bad link. That's what we're talking about here.
I love that. Great examples because, again, I think for a lot of people, it's that they think it's not happening, right? But it is.
It's happening. It's happening.
Do you have any anecdotes or some stories of that you've had with some young ones who've read the book If you've seen anybody, walk us through some of the stories maybe that you have with certain kids, maybe your teens, your friends' teens, anybody who's read these books, what they've said, what they've learned.
I am actually waiting to get some more responses from some of the kids who have read the books because I've had the great fortune of seeing them receive the books. I was able to give
Oh,
a few out at VCon. I read it to my 8-year-old and he loves it. But like I said, I know what I'm talking about. So I know how to rhyme the words. And if you read the Three Little PFPs, it does take a little bit of rhyming for the story and the cadence to go well, and then explaining it in the back. So far it's been pretty amazing to watch kids like get so interested in this. And I have had some pretty good feedback. Yes. Isn't that great?
I
I have
love
had
the
some really
bear.
good
I'm like,
feedback.
the bear market is awesome. Like, how am I showing this? I'm like, I want to show it better. Okay, yeah, okay, so you can see, yeah, the bear. The bear
Some a little back end story. So I carry my manuscripts around with me, and then I kind of doodle what I want the illustration to look like on the side. And that bear, I don't know how the illustrator, I just sent her a picture of that. And that bear with the back side of him, with him looking at his phone, trying to send them the link to click. That was actually, I had drawn that out with a pen and I was like, this looks identical. So it's really cool to write something down and then see it come to fruition. Yeah, yeah, that bear. It's
It's
kind of
awesome.
wild. But to be the feedback that I've had, ironically, is from a lot of the parents and grandparents. And
Mm.
that is where I'm really excited. Remember earlier I said how we got a little learning curve where we need to teach grandma how to go from like a checkbook to the debit card. We needed to teach from a regular phone to now a smartphone. There's that learning curve. A lot of grandparents have been buying my books to gift to their grandkids so that they can read it to them. So I feel like we're catching a nice, double end here as far as demographics go. And I have had more feedback from the grandparents than I have from the child.
And so what do the grandparents tell you? Like, give us a few examples or things that you remember that they've said, because I think we can learn so much from what they've told you.
Well, first off, they think that the language is funny. They don't understand hodl. How do I say that? So they do come back to me with the pronunciation part of it, but they do appreciate the glossary. I've heard that a lot, that they really appreciate the glossary and then they read it back through after reading the glossary. Now, the Blockchain Odyssey, it was actually just released yesterday. So you were a very, very lucky one of 5 who got it an original. So I have not had much feedback on that yet. I have a couple of people waiting for their books to arrive on Thursday, and I'm going to soak it all up and figure out, how that's going. Yes, but that is fresh, like hot off the press, 1 day old, 2 days old.
I love that.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, the glossary making things fun and funny. I mean, when I entered crypto, I thought to myself, well, who's gonna make it funny? Like, who's gonna dumb it down for me? And so then I had to do it myself. That's how I
Yeah.
started. I remember thinking to myself, I wish someone was out there poking fun at this crazy world of crypto, because things happen daily, almost hourly at this point. Like, you just open your phone and just there's news coming at every angle, right? And so by the end of the week, I would be so overwhelmed with like, what did I miss? And so I love that the feedback was A, that it was funny, B, relatable, and also C, the language. And I think that, like, back to my point, how do we regurgitate this type of information so that it's accessible? And I think only a few have done it really well in the space, but we have a long way to go.
That's where the passion part comes in, though, because, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a writer. I wrote a bunch. I had poems and books and stuff. And so if you look back and like, what was I interested in when I was little, and how can I bring that gift to today using what I'm interested in now? And so I think that as we pursue things like you with this podcast, you're a natural and you explain things so well. And that is the perfect spot right now. That's your sweet spot. Mine is these books. There's a space for everybody. You just have to be bold enough to step in and give yourself a chance in that space. And we can all bring a collective understanding in our own way to this on-chain stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what would you tell a woman right now who's like, I want to start, I mean, I get this all the time. I want to start something. I want to maybe start a side hustle. I don't know yet. My hair doesn't look good. My lipstick, what would you tell someone right now who's even thinking of being an author, right? Like in your case, an author. What would you tell her right now? Any tips, pieces of advice?
Yeah, I do actually. I have a great piece of advice. So other than the just do it factor and taking action, my advice is there's this really cool book. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water. And basically it talks about, in the book, there's a piece that says that if you go to this tree and you just give it five axe swings every day, eventually the tree will fall down. Now, it depends on how strong the tree is, how big the tree is, how sharp the axe is, but eventually with 5 swings, that tree will fall down. So I like to treat side hustles, goals, anything that you're hesitant about, to give it 5 minutes of action every day. You're going to find yourself there for longer than 5 minutes because that's going to be long enough to get you into the flow of things, and you're probably not going to quit. But at the very least, you have 5 minutes every day of action that will inevitably stack up. Now, it doesn't mean that that will result in something successful. The successful version of that might be you realize that those 5 minutes no longer serve you and they're not serving an audience. But that is still key information to take away. So that would be my key, would remember that just 5 minutes towards your dreams every day, and it will add up.
I always tell creators, how much are you consuming on social media? And then do 5 times more, like go create 5 times more. So however long you're consuming, go create 5 times more. So I love this, like 5. That's great. I love it. I love it. Love that. Elizabeth, anything else you'd want to add? Any upcoming projects? I know you said you're going to come out with more books. What else can you tell us? What's in the future? What does the future hold for Elizabeth Sullivan this year?
So this is exciting because I've committed to doing a book a month. That's my 5 minutes every day. Like, I know that as it compounds, it will just get better and better. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be kind of a challenge. I'm going to try to do the illustrations for the next one myself.
Wow.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to give it 5 minutes. Yes, but we'll see if other people are better at it than me. And I think that is really key, is recognizing where the product doesn't work so well when you're doing it and it's time to pass it on, But also in doing that book a month, I know that it's not going to be perfect. And I have to be okay with that. I've released 5 books already. 2 of them are the ones that we're talking about. The others don't have any relevance to blockchain technology at all. But I can tell you there is a typo in 2 of the 5 books that I've released. And I recognized that last minute, and I just left it there, because if I focused on perfection, these things just won't happen. So instead, I'm going to focus on compounding and getting it done every month. So I think in the future, I really want to be able to learn something I'm interested in and then relay it in a way that can come out properly on a book. And I think that's the best way to learn, is to teach.
From one woman to another, I am so proud that you're just going with it. And even if there were mistakes in the book, you're like, doesn't matter. The goal is to get the information out there. So good on you for not, stopping, because that imposter syndrome is it's so hard to get over that hump of like, I want everything to be perfect. So good on you for doing it and for pushing forward. I'm so excited to see what happens within the next year, get you back on the show. Now tell us, where can we get these? And then I'll be able to provide all the links down below.
Okay, so this is super fun. It's not in the bookstores yet, but I never thought that I would see a book of mine on barnesandnobles.com. Like, hello. Yeah, so I uploaded it on this site called Ingram Spark. And by doing so, it's able to reach a lot of the bookstores. So you can find it when you just Google the Three Little PFPs. It comes up on Barnes & Noble, comes up on Amazon. It comes up on Walmart.com. That was kind of crazy. And
Wow.
you can really find it essentially anywhere.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being here today. I just want to, conclude this episode by telling everyone, I always say the juiciest conversations are happening up in my DMs. You can come find me on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Just come find me. Of course, drop your questions or comments down below. Let us know too. You know what, Liz and I want to know if you picked this up. Let us know, drop it in the comments, and tell us your feedback. We want to hear from you. And as always, come find me up in my DMs or up on social. You know where to find me. Thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.